Is Ben Simmons retiring? Because there was a report that I saw that Ben Simmons could contemplate retirement over, potentially going to either, I guess, the Knicks, who have been reportedly interested. Um, I forgot who the other team is who's interested. I think maybe the Suns. Um, I don't know if the Clippers are interested in bringing him back. I just don't know. I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not sure. But Ben Simmons might retire apparently, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like Ben Simmons was the number one overall pick in 2016, maybe. So actually, if you think about it, he's been in the league like 9 years. So technically, that's actually a, you know, decently long NBA career. Um, because I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think the average NBA career is like 4 years, maybe 4, 5. I'm not sure. I feel like I remember reading it was like 4 years somewhere, maybe a while ago, but don't quote me on that. But I definitely know that, you know, 9 years is 100% over the quote unquote average NBA career lifespan. Lifespan, career, not lifespan. Um, so, obviously, he's been in the league 9 years. He's made whatever amount of money, he's had max contract, all that stuff. So he is definitely, had a good NBA career from that standpoint, right? Like he made an all-star team. He got the big bucks. Like I said, he's been in the league 9 years. So fair enough. But at the same time, and it's always hard to be like, well, he was a number one overall pick, right? So the expectations on him were to be, honestly, I feel like I remember people saying he was the next LeBron James, which I feel like happens a lot, unfortunately, for number one picks. Like, there will be people saying, that's the next LeBron or that's the next Michael Jordan. And, like, there's a reason that those players are, you know, so high up on the all time list. It's really hard to, be that level of player. So I do feel bad a little bit when some of these, number one picks and stuff like that are getting expectations of Michael Jordan or LeBron, because like that's like, we're talking about, in my opinion, Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time. That's my opinion. Some people have LeBron as the greatest of all time. Either way, one, two, 1, 2, 3, we're talking about all time, these players. Again, I don't think anybody would say Michael Jordan is lower than 2 if you have LeBron first, right? I don't know if anybody would. Um, but even if someone really believes that Michael Jordan is not the greatest, I don't think I've ever heard a single person say that he's even below 3, right? Again, I have him number 1, so do a lot of people. But let's just say you have Michael Jordan at number 3, right? Even still, to literally have the expectation to be the first, second, or third greatest player of all time put on you before you even come in the NBA, that's about as high of expectations that you could have. And so, you know, obviously, like I said, they benefit. You're an NBA player, you get to play the sport that you love, you get to make lots of money, all the good stuff that comes with being an NBA player, right? At the same time, I'm just saying, like, I do, I can understand, why the pressure could be a little bit difficult on some of the number one overall picks when you're being compared to, like, the greatest of all time, right? Like, how, like, nobody else gets to be the greatest of all time, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, going back to Ben Simmons, I believe when he was, getting drafted, they were saying he was the next LeBron James because he was 6'10", who could play point and stuff like that, right? And obviously could defend. So from what I remember, he was being compared to LeBron. And again, being basically saying your expectation is to be as good as LeBron, that's that's a crazy expectation for anybody. So I understand Ben Simmons never turned into LeBron, right? Like, he had some, obviously flashes, like the passing, some of the defensive ability, obviously. But, like, he obviously never turned into as good of a player as LeBron, is. However, again, that he still, was an all-star and stuff like that. So it's not like he was a bad player, right? His issue, we all know, is that the lack of shooting, a jump shot, those kind of things. I don't know him. I don't know what went into the mechanics as to why he, struggled, I guess, with, developing a jump shot or at least a consistent one. I don't know. But obviously we know his biggest issue was shooting, like I said, a jumper, a mid-range shot. Forget about the three-point shot. But, like, that was his main issue. And a lot of people, peg it to the passed away layup against the Atlanta Hawks in the playoff series. That's where people say is the beginning of the end for him. Because, people say, like, I obviously watched Ben Simmons throughout his career. I watched the Sixers just like I watch all the teams. But I was never, like, studying Ben Simmons, right? But most people, or a lot of people say, after that happened, it was like he would never even shoot anything other than, like, a literal layup. And I guess I'll have to go back and watch tape. But I do vaguely remember prior to that, whatever you want to call it, the passed up layup happening, I feel like I do remember him, like, shooting more, than he did after that point. But again, I'm not going to analyze him, like, that's not really the point of this video. So what I'm saying is, Ben Simmons could be retiring after a 9-year NBA career, but the difference between him retiring and maybe somebody else is that he has teams who want him. Like I said, the Knicks are reportedly, trying to get him. I believe the Suns as well. Again, like I said, I don't remember if the Clippers are, interested in bringing him back. I'm not sure. But he might retire despite the fact that he has interest from other NBA teams. Now, is that because on these teams he probably won't have a large role, right? Like, they're talking about, if we go to the Knicks, we're talking about Ben Simmons being eighth man on the bench, ninth man, I don't know. At least at the, minimum, like the seventh man, right? Because Miles McBride will be their sixth man. So you're talking 7, 8, 9, because I don't know if he's ahead of Jordan Clarkson. I don't know. So maybe it's the role, because, like, again, he was the number 1 overall pick, so maybe he doesn't, I'm not saying I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I'm just saying maybe it's, the fact that he's not going to be, like, a starter, and have a major role. I don't know if it's the money, because obviously he's only going to be getting, like, a veteran minimum from any of these teams. He's not getting a max contract. I don't know if that's the issue. Maybe he just, is not interested in playing basketball anymore. Sometimes that happens. And it's not, like, bad per se. Maybe he just, is done with the NBA. He had 9 years. 9 years is a long time to do anything, right? I know a lot of us look at the NBA, right? And you're like, but he had it all, right? That's what a lot of people think about the NBA. He got to play basketball and make all this money and, have all these, off court, whatever, fun stuff that he wants to do or whatever. Um, but when you're on the inside, and obviously I'm not, so I can't tell you all the intricacies of what goes on behind closed doors for these players, but like, they don't have a ton of free time during the season, if we're being honest. I don't know, because I don't follow these players' like lives, outside, like their like personal lives. I feel like it's not really our business. Um, so like I don't know. Ben Simmons has a family. I don't think he has any kids. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But if he does have kids or stuff like that, obviously his time being able to spend with them and see them is limited. And that can put a lot of strain on people. Um, there's just a lot of things that we don't know that goes on, and like it's stressful. It's a stressful job, I guess, if you want to say. It's a career. Again, they love basketball, but it's still stressful. Even though they love it, it is stressful, of course, because you have pressure every night to win too. So I'm not gonna say it's not stressful. So maybe again, I don't know what Ben Simmons is thinking. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but I'm saying maybe it just got too stressful and he's just kind of, done with all that and, the lack of free time and all that stuff. I'm saying during the season, obviously, because, they're flying to different cities all the time. So I'm not sure. Someone said Michael Jordan. Another person said Michael Jordan. Okay, yeah, so I feel like a lot of people think Michael Jordan is the GOAT, like I do as well. But there are people who say Ben Simmons. I mean, not Ben Simmons. Oh my god, that's funny. There are people who say LeBron James. Someone's gonna quote that. Someone's gonna like clip that and say that I said Ben Simmons is the GOAT. That's funny. Obviously Ben Simmons is not the GOAT. No offense, Ben Simmons. But some people say LeBron's the GOAT. Whoever you think is the GOAT, that's what I'm saying. Like the expectation for him was to be one of the greatest players of all time. So that's hard to live up to. Even if Ben Simmons, had, more accolades and more things that he did in his career than he does now. Even if Ben Simmons, let's just say, won a championship and had like, I don't even know how many All-Star appearances he has, but let's say he had like 8 All-Star appearances, got a championship and got a Finals MVP, just hypothetically, people would still say he's not LeBron or Michael Jordan. So like, it's not like, yes, obviously that would make his all-time status better, of course, if he won a championship, but he still would not be in the category of LeBron or Michael Jordan. So either way, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't quote unquote live up to those expectations, which are really hard to achieve. So yeah, Ben Simmons might be retiring. Somebody said, love your knowledge of the game. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I try my best to, know everything I can. So, yeah, Ben Simmons might be retiring, and it's kind of crazy. I know everyone's going to pinpoint it to that game against the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs as the turning point in his career, the moment. I get it. And, everything has trickled down since. I'm not going to also, like, we have to remember he did have back issues. And back injuries, surgeries, like, those things are really hard. I never had one, thankfully, and I hope I never ever have to have a back surgery or anything like that, because those things are really scary. But back injuries and back, like, surgeries are very, very difficult to heal from, and they take a long time. Like, of course, like, lots of injuries are very difficult, and take a long time to heal from. But I know that, like, the back injuries and back surgeries are, like, very intricate. And, your spine, is responsible for a lot of, how you walk and stuff like that. So, like, if that is out of alignment, that makes things really, really difficult. And you have to be very careful, with the spine and, the discs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that contributed, to part of it. Maybe his back is just like, it's just like a lot of work to, stay in NBA shape, and maybe his back is hurting him. I don't know. I really don't know. But Ben Simmons might retire. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.